It's raining outside, it's freezing cold. The winter, you just want something warming. I'm gonna show you how to make bangers and mash. This is a British staple. Sausages, mash, onion gravy. You can't get much better than this. So let's get stuck in and I'm gonna show you how to make it from scratch at home. The key to bangers and mash are the sausages. I'm gonna show you how to make these from scratch at home. First things first, grab yourself some pork shoulder. This is the right fat percentage you need for sausages. I'm going for around 20% fat. If you don't have access to this, you can go and buy some fat and some lean meat and build it yourself. But I just find it easier to get the shoulder because it's already all there for you. First off, to make the sausages then, we need to cut this pork shoulder into chunks. Once you've got it in nice, even-sized pieces, add this into a tray and then we're gonna get the herbs ready. So here we're doing Cumberland sausages. The two main herbs we're using are sage, just pick off the leaves from the stalks, and then some thyme. However, do feel free to experiment if you wanna try some other herbs. You need to finely chop these here as they might not get cut up fully by the mincer, so just make sure they're as small as you can get. We then need to add half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 20 gratings of nutmeg, and 32 grams of sea salt. 32 grams here is 2%. This is the perfect saltiness for the sausages. Once the pork has been marinated, we need to place this in the freezer to get cold for about 30 minutes. To grind the meat, simply pass it through the grinder with a coarse attachment. Add the ground meat back into the tray and then chill it again for another 15 minutes in the freezer. This is where we're going to add the breadcrumb. Once all mixed together, we're then going to pass this through the grinder one final time just to get a nice even grind on the meat. Then straight after mincing for the second time, we want to stream in the water and mix this in with our hand. Make sure this is staying really cold all the time because if it's not, you are going to get a very pasty meat and you don't want that. You want a slight texture to the sausage when it snaps open. This recipe overall makes 16 sausages, but if you want to do more or less, feel free to adjust as you need. Now this is the hardest part, I think. Stuffing sausages does take a little bit of practice. However, you don't have to do this. You can just eat the sausage meat as is and it's perfect for like patties and burgers, all that kind of stuff. If you don't have a sausage stuffer, do what I did and get an attachment for your stand mixer. These work really well for a homemade sausage. Again, the stand mixers themselves are quite expensive, so if you don't already have one, just eat the sausage meat as is and you will love it. So to stuff the sausages, you need to soak a casing of your choice. Here I'm using collagen. Thread the casings onto the tube, then add the chilled meat to the machine. At a medium speed, push the meat into the top of the stand mixer and hold the casings with your other hand. Let this run through until the whole skin has filled up. It is as easy as that. Then tie the sausages, twisting in opposing directions to link them together. We do this in opposing directions so they don't unravel later on. Now the sausages are made, you can leave these in the fridge for a couple of days just to cure a little bit. You want all the flavor to soak up into the meat. But whilst that's happening, I'm gonna make the onion gravy. It's very rich, it's very meaty, and it's very warming, and this is the perfect accompaniment for our homemade sausages. Oh, the onions make me cry. To begin cooking the onions, add the butter and a small splash of olive oil into a pan, and then add in the onions on top. Season generously with salt, then we want to cook these over a medium heat for about 30 minutes until they're beautifully golden and caramelized. At this point, we then can add in the herbs just to bring out the flavors, half a tablespoon of thyme, half a tablespoon of sage, and then cook this for a few minutes just to bring out the flavors. Add in half a glass of red wine, bubble this away until it has mostly evaporated, then stir in 25 grams of plain flour. Once this is thick and as a paste and there are no lumps, we're going to add in 500 ml of beef stock, 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard, and then season with salt and pepper to taste. Leave this to cook for another 15 to 20 minutes over a medium heat, bubbling away until it's rich, thick and glossy. This is the perfect onion gravy to go with our bangers and mash. The final and third component of our bangers and mash is, of course, the mash. So I'm going to get these boiling whilst the onions are cooking and the sausages are resting in the fridge, and then we'll plate it up and taste. Now I'm sure you guys all know how to make mash, but for clarity's sake, we're going to add all our chopped potatoes into a saucepan and cover with cold water. Cold water is essential here so the potatoes cook evenly throughout. Season the pot generously with salt. Bring this to a boil and cook for 10 to 12 minutes until soft and cooked through. Let them steam dry for a few minutes and then we're going to pass these through a ricer. Now if you don't have a ricer, this isn't essential, but it just gives it a little bit of an extra smooth consistency. On the complete other end, if you're looking for the silkiest, smoothest mash, you can pass this through the ricer and then through a sieve, push it through and you'll get a really fine cut to the potato, which will end up silky smooth. Once you've passed it all through a ricer, we're then going to add in some olive oil. Typically when it comes to mash, loads of you will be adding in butter, milk, maybe some herbs, salt and pepper. I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to be doing An olive oil mash. I absolutely love olive oil mash now. I think it's actually one of my favorite ways to have it. It adds such a nice, unique, different flavor. And it's also not as rich and overwhelming as having loads of butter in a mash. Just try it, let me know what you think, and I think you guys will really like it. Now, I would somewhat play it by ear here. If you're using a strong olive oil, this can overpower the mash a little, so just get the right balance. I'm adding in here about 80 mils, and test your olive oil first, as it can be strong, and adjust as you need. But obviously, the more you use, the silkier and smoother it will be. We are pretty much almost there now, so I'm just gonna fry off these sausages at a medium-low temperature so they don't cook too quickly. They've dried in the fridge for a few hours at least. I actually made these ones earlier, so they've been in here for a couple of days, and this just means they'll be a lot more full of flavor, they'll crisp up better in the pan, and overall we'll get a better tasting sausage. Low and slow, because you don't want to crisp them up too quickly, otherwise they pop and burst, especially with homemade sausages. Cold pan, low heat for a nice like 5-10 minutes. You can also just chuck them in the oven. This is how you get nice, crispy, cooked through and not burst sausages. So you shouldn't actually need to add any oil. The sausages are full of fat, so the oil should come out a little bit from that and cook in its own fat. However, you can add a splash of olive oil if you want to, but I don't need to here. Now, once the sausages are in the pan, I'm just gonna cover them. This helps cook through the sausages that little bit quicker. All of this caramelization on top is exactly what you're looking for. So they've cooked for about 10 to 15 minutes now. Check the internal temperature if you want, and you are good to go. So I'm gonna plate these up with some mash and a gravy we made, and it's gonna be stunning. Now, a little thing here, don't put your mash on the side, put it at the bottom of the bowl. We want all the juices and all the sauce to soak up into the mash. This just makes it that little bit better. So a nice generous portion of your mash in the bottom of the bowl. Then go on with the homemade sausages. Finally, we want to top this with our delicious homemade onion gravy. Now, don't hold back here, use a lot, as this brings the whole dish together. Garnish with a little bit of finely chopped parsley, and there you are, you're good to go. And there we have it. The bangers and mash made at home. I can't even begin to describe how delicious this smells right now. You've got the smells of like the peppery homemade sausages, you've got the rich oniony sauce, all the olive oil in that mash as well, smells great. And yeah, if you guys want to make this at home, you don't have to do the sausages if it's a bit too much effort for you. If you do want to, it's really good fun and they come out really nicely. However, you have to make this gravy from scratch. Homemade gravy is amazing. Let's tuck in, let's see what it tastes like. Got to get a little bit of everything. This goes well with a little bit of English mustard. Dijon mustard is also good. Don't use American mustard, that's too sweet for this, but a little bit of mustard gives another peppery kick and it's really good. Cheers. Those are some of the best sausages I've had in a long time. Don't mind me, I'm just gonna eat all of this. I think it's safe to say homemade bangers and mash is an absolute winner. And make sure to subscribe, comment down below what you want to see me make next. Turn on the notification bell if you haven't already. And in the meantime, let's do some cooking.